Hello and welcome to this week's edition of SouthCoast End Zone. I'm Tim Weisberg.
I'm Laurie Loss.
And we are here to talk with you about all the area high school football action. We got some big games this week. We got some big news this week too. Some changes to the playoff format are coming up, so we'll cover that in first and 10. I guess we might as well just jump right into it.
Okay, sounds good. First and 10, number 10. With a vote of 161 to 131 on Friday, the MIAA passed the proposal for a new playoff system set to begin in 2013. Number 9, Eileen Carol Carvalho submitted the first video to us at SC_varsity of the season. It was from the Fairhaven game right here. You can see it. It was Christian Braga's 22-yard pass to Connor Flynn for Fairhaven's first touchdown in the Blue Devils' win over Apponequet 14-7. It was actually the Blue Devils' first win over Apponequet since 2000. Number 8, Trevor Menya was a bright spot in Voc-Tech's loss to Dighton-Rehoboth, returning a kickoff 83 yards for a score. Number 7, Weston Cohen scored his 8th touchdown of the season in Apponequet's loss to Fairhaven. Number 6, Brett Labonte scored on a fumble recovery from 20 yards out for Wareham's first touchdown of the game against Seekonk. Number 5, Richie Phillips and Nolan Bergeron each had 2 touchdowns in an overtime loss to Bourne for Old Rochester. Number 4, Kobe Edwards led Fairhaven's offense with 18 rushes for 102 yards in the Blue Devils' win over the Lakers. Number 3, Darian Fernandez led Wareham with 3 rushing touchdowns, and Anthony Abbott added 2 in a lopsided win over Seekonk. And then number 2, Fairhaven captured its first win over Apponequet since 2000 with its 14-7 victory. Billy Pyers scored the winning touchdown on a 54-yard run. Number 1, Charlie McKeeman scored all 3 of Bishop Stang's touchdowns to give the Spartans their first victory of the season, and that was an 18-0 victory over Coyle Cassidy. So that was first and 10.
Congratulations to the Spartans on that first win.
Yep.
And now maybe they can win out and they'll have a decent season as a result of it.
Yeah, I know they have some tough competition coming up though.
This week they have a tough game too.
Yeah, I think they haven't played Fian yet, and I mean so there's some tough games, but I know getting that first win is definitely a big relief.
Momentum is on their side now.
Yes, it is. So I mean, there's a lot of exciting games going on this week. I guess one in particular is the South Coast Conference battle between Wareham and Dighton-Rehoboth, and we didn't get to shoot this video on Monday, and we're shooting it tonight, Thursday. The night. So we're trying to build up some of that anticipation for the big game, right? I mean, it wasn't because of the hurricane. No, it was.
And people have been asking me about it all week.
Yeah,
I work in Laker country, and Apponequet fans are coming up and asking me about this game.
Yeah, I mean this is a huge game, definitely game of the week, probably the game of the season, and that's a big deal because we don't even know what's going on with New Bedford. If New Bedford beats Brockton, and then I mean there's a lot of other games that could have big implications. But I mean this is a game that I think people even like 3 or 4 weeks into the season were kind of saying, wow, Wareham's still undefeated in conference play. Dighton-Rehoboth's still undefeated. Okay, when we were sitting here a few weeks ago saying, when did they meet? Right. I mean, it's something that I think everybody's been talking about and waiting for a long time.
When is there not a season where the DR Wareham game is a big one? I mean, there's been a few down years for the Vikings the last couple of years, but
yeah, I mean, and last year Dighton-Rehoboth won just 7-0. I mean, so that was a close one. I know the last time, I think Dan Nault said the last time that they were in that title race, I think that was, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, they ended up losing to DR that season at DR, and that's what cost them in the race for the title. So I mean, this is if you haven't been to a game all season and you want to see a big game, come out to Wareham Friday night.
And if you can't, you can follow along because I'm guessing you're going to be there.
This is it's going to be on Twitter at SC_varsity. I will be there. Buddy Thomas will be there.
Oh, wow.
We will both be there. We will be there in full force. So that just lets you know how important of a game this is, because I mean we still have some time to play. I mean after this game, each team has 2 conference games left. But whoever wins this game is going to have that inside track, especially, if let's say Wareham wins this game. They still have they have Bourne on Thanksgiving, and then let me see in my notes right here, they have Voc-Tech, next week. So they have two games left. If they were to win out, then they would be able to clinch the title. But if they were to lose a game, and then DR won out, then they would finish tied.
But they would
have the tiebreaker to go to the playoffs. So basically, in the same case for DR, if DR ends up, winning this game, or not winning this game, but it's kind of like they're both like, if you win this game, you kind of are in the inside track, especially to make the tournament. If there's a tie, you're going to make the tournament.
You certainly would. Yeah, you'd have the tiebreaker for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, it's huge. I talked to both coaches earlier in the week, and both teams are ready. They're excited. It should be. I mean, both teams are playing strong defense, all season, and really both teams can get the job done on offense. And it's kind of strange to say this, but they're both undefeated in the conference. They both have are 5-0 in the South Coast Conference. Wareham has played one more game than Dighton-Rehoboth, so they have an overall record of 7-1, while Dighton-Rehoboth has an overall record of 6-1. But both of their losses have come to Somerset Berkeley, which is kind of unique. I know that the loss that Dighton-Rehoboth had to Somerset Berkeley was the first game of the season. They got shut out. I think they had three turnovers in the first half. It wasn't really kind of a great way to start the season. And I know Wareham, it was not much closer, but I think it was like 35-14. It was a little bit midway through the season. And Wareham was leading, I think, going into halftime of that game. And, Somerset Berkeley came out and just, controlled the second half. So both coaches kind of said, you can kind of look at that as kind of a measuring stick, but not really, because it was so long ago when they both played Somerset Berkeley. And Wareham, the Vikings are coming in hot. They've won 4 straight. They're coming off a lopsided win over Seekonk, in which Darian Fernandez had 3 touchdowns. And Anthony Abbott also had 2 rushing touchdowns. Darian is the area's leading scorer and leading rusher. He finished with 18 carries for 105 yards, while Abbott had 8 rushes for 49 yards. Abbott also completed 3 of 5 passes for 101 yards. So this is a Wareham offense that we're kind of seeing week in and week out, where they can get the job done on the ground, they can get it done through the air. I know a couple weeks ago we were talking about Darian throwing a couple touchdown passes with the polecat. They've been running some of the wildcat. I know talking to Dan Nault the other night, I asked him about some of the new formations that they've put in the last few weeks, and he said, we're just going to go back to what we normally do. I don't know if that's true or if they're going to mix in some of those trick plays, but it definitely should be an exciting game to watch, especially since Wareham's been putting a lot of points up on the board recently. Dighton-Rehoboth, since that loss to Somerset Berkeley to open the season, the Falcons have won 6 straight games. In their last 6 games, they've outscored the opposition by an average of 9.2 points per game. I know a couple of those games were some close wins, especially over Bourne. Traditionally, Dighton-Rehoboth is a running team. In a game, let's say they have 30 plays or 35 offensive plays, they'll run the ball 30 times out of 35 times or 32. They predominantly run the ball. This year, that hasn't been the case. I mean, they still like to run the ball, but they've found that they have a great quarterback in sophomore Nathan Kowalski. He's completed 52 out of 98 passes for 799 yards and 7 touchdowns. So that's pretty impressive, especially when you say, he's from DR, because they don't usually throw the ball that much. His favorite target has been Paul Costa, who has 20 catches for 4 touchdowns. On the ground, they do have 2 backs that can move the ball. Kyle Rose has he had 2 rushing touchdowns last week against Voc, and he leads the rushing attack with 312 yards and 4 TDs. And then Mike Costa has 251 rushing yards and 4 scores. So, I mean, they've proven they can get the job done through the air and on the ground. They've also, been playing some strong defense. So it'll really be interesting to see, if this is going to be a shootout, because both teams have strong, kind of a lot of weapons on offense, but then they both have, played strong defense this year. So, I mean, it's definitely a big game. I mean, that's the best way to sum it up, is it's a big game. And
it's going to be Friday night at 7 p.m., so plenty of time for everybody to get out to Spillane Field and cheer on the Vikings, and it's going to make things interesting here on out. No matter what happens in this game, all of a sudden, things are heating up.
Yeah, and I know we're talking about how big this game is. I mean, still, next week, Dighton-Rehoboth plays Apponequet, and Apponequet's, besides losing to Fairhaven last week, I mean, Apponequet's kind of proven, hey, we may not be in that title race, the top two teams, but we're still up there. We're still a competitor. So, I mean, there's still a lot more football to be played, especially because, Wareham plays Bourne on Thanksgiving, too. But this is definitely a big game to put one of these teams in the driver's seat in the conference.
All right, so again, that's Dighton-Rehoboth at Wareham, 7 o'clock Friday night. Our next game is also a 7 o'clock Friday night game. That's Fairhaven at Bedford Voc-Tech. And maybe we'll get some more Fairhaven clips, win or lose, that we can run on the show.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I mean, that.
And actually, anybody that wants to record anything at any of these games and wants to tweet it to us at SC_varsity or on Facebook, SouthCoastVarsity.com on Facebook, we'll work them into the show, now that we know that we can do it pretty easily.
Yeah, and I do have to apologize because I did retweet that video, and I originally had put that the touchdown pass was to Billy Pyers. I don't know why. I was at the game. I obviously knew that it was Connor Flynn, but I think I just maybe had Billy Pyers in my mind because he had that huge, touchdown. He had a huge touchdown run for 54 yards, and then he kicks the extra points. So I want to apologize to Connor Flynn for messing up the credit for that.
He's like, I got my touchdown. I don't really care what you call me as long as I got my points. So.
That is true, and it was a big play in the game. So this is a pretty good game. I mean, it's two local teams. Two teams that we cover. Fairhaven is coming in. Kind of hot. I mean, the Blue Devils are probably playing their best football of the season right now, while Voc-Tech, they're on a little bit of a downward slide. They had won 3 straight, and then they've lost back-to-back games. So it's kind of two teams coming in, in a little bit different, positions. Fairhaven's coming off that emotional win over Apponequet. I mean, it was the first win over the Lakers since, 2000. They had lost 11 straight times to the Lakers. And really, they get the job done on both sides of the ball. Defensively, the Blue Devils came up with a key stop on third down and late in the second quarter, and then they also came up with a goal line stand late in the fourth quarter to hold on for the win. Offensively, Kobe Edwards, he led the way. He had 18 rushes, 102 yards. He was held out of the end zone, though. Billy Pyers, as I was saying earlier, scored the winning touchdown on a 54-yard touchdown run right through the heart of Apponequet's defense late in the first quarter. And, I mean, it was just, at one point, I think, when I was in the press box, we were all kind of looking at each other and saying, did he even get touched? I mean, there was, had to be some kind of defensive lapse, too, on Apponequet's end because, he just broke through the line and just nobody was there. So, and then the first touchdown for Fairhaven was on a 22-yard pass from Christian Braggett to Connor Flynn on the opening drive. Excuse me. The Blue Devils have won 3 straight. Voc-Tech had a hard time last week against Dighton-Rehoboth. They just managed 53 yards of total offense, and their lone touchdown came on an 83. Sorry, I'm really sick, everybody.
That's okay.
83-yard kickoff return by Trevor Menya.
And
they had 3 turnovers in that game, the Bears. Corey Pont led Voc-Tech's offense. He had 8 carries, 27 yards. That's not what we're used to hearing from Voc-Tech. Mm-hmm. But the thing was, he was the only Voc-Tech player with more than 10 rushing yards. So they need to get more on offense. But like I was saying, they faced a DR team that's been pretty tough all season.
Right.
So.
All right, so that is Fairhaven at Bedford Voc-Tech, 7 p.m. on Friday night. The next game we'll talk about, we'll switch to Saturday for a minute. That's Apponequet at Case.
Yep.
That's a 3 o'clock game on Saturday. And that's a good time to go out and catch a game, too. It's supposed to be a nice weekend.
Yeah, it is. It is.
No hurricanes coming this week. So
No hurricanes. This is actually an interesting game because Case has been struggling as of late, or actually pretty much all season. Case is coming off a much-needed bye. The Cardinals have lost 6 straight games after opening the season with a win over Diamond. And since then, the Cardinals, they've been outscored a combined 145-32. They haven't scored a touchdown since October 5th. So this is a team that's been struggling. Yes, they had the bye, so they're rested. If they had anybody with injuries, they're probably back. But Apponequet, I know how disappointed the Lakers were last week with the loss to Fairhaven. They were in that game right until the end. Like I said, there was that goal line stand by Fairhaven's defense that really denied the Lakers. They were only down by a touchdown. It was late in the game. So they were disappointed. I mean, they felt like if they could just, continue to win in the conference, that, when they face DR, next week, that they would, they would kind of be like, if they knocked off DR, then they would kind of still be in that title race. But having 2 losses is just too much, especially with Wareham and Dighton-Rehoboth undefeated at this point in the season. The loss actually ended an 11-game winning streak for Apponequet against Fairhaven, and it was Bob Lomp's first loss to Fairhaven in his tenure as the head coach at Apponequet. So
it's like over a decade, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, back to 2000. So it's been a while. It appears that the third place in the South Coast Conference is probably going to come down to Apponequet or Fairhaven. They both have 2 losses in the conference right now. There's still more games to be played. But against the Blue Devils, Apponequet, it really couldn't get much going on offense. After that first quarter touchdown by Weston Cohen, his 8th of the season, the Lakers were held out of the end zone the rest of the game. Of their 5 drives in the second half, 3 ended with punts, 1 on an interception, and the other they turned the ball over on downs. So the big bright spot was Weston Cohen had a team-high 88 yards on 14 carries, but Fairhaven's defense did a really good job stopping, limiting Matt Michaels', rushing attack. He wasn't able to get much going. So, I mean, nothing against Case, but I think Wareham, I think Apponequet's going to come out here and just kind of run a little wild. All that frustration from last week's loss to Fairhaven, I think, this could get ugly probably, pretty quick. Because that game, Apponequet was in that game all the way until the end. It really, I don't think anyone on Fairhaven's sidelines could celebrate until the clock started winding down, for the last few seconds, because it was a tight game, and it really could have gone either way. So, yeah, this should if you want to see some good, a lot of scoring, I'd say go to this game, at least on Apponequet's end.
All right, that's Apponequet at Case, 3 o'clock on Saturday. We'll jump back to the Friday games, and Old Rochester at Randolph, 7 p.m. game on Friday night, and that's kind of a hike from Mattapoisett to Randolph.
Yeah, it is pretty far. We won't be making the trek up there, so Coach.
It's too bad, because I could recommend some good pizza places right near Randolph.
Coach Henry Quinlan, please call us. Please send us an email. Please do everything that you normally do, because he's so good. Even on games that we cover, he'll send us an email after the game to make sure that we have all the stats correct. So we will not be making that ride up there.
And also bring me back a bean special from Linwood Cafe. It's a pizza with baked beans and bacon on it.
Oh, that's
awesome.
That's interesting. That might make me feel better. Maybe open up my nose a little bit. I don't know. Okay, well, this is kind of an interesting game. Randolph really hasn't had traditionally Randolph's usually pretty good, but it hasn't had a very good season this year. It's lost 2 straight. Its last 2 games, 67-14 combined. After its lone win of the season, came against Cape Cod Tech, 39-6 on October 12th. And Randolph's 7 losses this year, it has been outscored 209-65. So this is a team that's letting up a lot of points, not scoring many points. The Blue Devils have scored more than 20 points just once this season, while giving up more than 20 points in 5 games. Last week against Sharon, Brett White connected with Jayshawn Houston for Randolph's lone touchdown on a 38-yard pass in the 4th quarter. Houston also had Randolph's only touchdown the week before on a 23-yard scamper. So it sounds like the Houston kid, if they do score, he usually has a hand in it. But this is probably a game where the Bulldogs can get back on track. It's been 2 straight weeks that Old Rochester has kind of come out on a losing end of an emotional, heartbreaking loss. Last week it was an overtime to Bourne, 30-28, and I know I was keeping a special eye on that game myself. because that was one of the 2 games that Buddy and I picked different. So I had picked Old Rochester to win that game. So I was really, kind of rooting for the Bulldogs to pull that one out. But the Bulldogs did score in their first possession of overtime on a 1-yard touchdown run by quarterback Nolan Bergeron. But, Bourne's defense held on the 2-point conversion attempt. And then the Canalmen ended up winning the game on Chad Marsh's touchdown run from 3 yards out, and he also had the 2-point conversion run. And it was the same situation the week before where Old Rochester, got into an overtime game. They ended up scoring first. They couldn't convert the conversion, and the other team ends up scoring and then winning. So I know it's been a couple back-to-back, tough weeks for Old Rochester. Colin Napton had a breakout performance last week for the Bulldogs. He had 116 rushing yards, including a 53-yard touchdown scamper. Richie Phillips and Nolan Bergeron each had 2 touchdowns in that game. And in the last 2 games, those 2 guys have combined for 8 of the team's touchdowns. So they've been getting the job done. It just seems like, sometimes when you have these close games, it takes a little bit of luck. There's that one play could go either way, one way or the other. And I know, Coach Henry Quinlan, not to say, he doesn't like to do predictions and expectations and all that, but I know right now their record's 4-4. In the last, I don't know how many years, 3, 4, 5 years, they finished 4-7. Mm-hmm. So I kind of think he wants, even though he won't, say, oh, I want to get that 5th win.
Right.
It's got to be in the back of his mind and the kids' minds, because they don't, even though they've had such a strong year, like to date, it just still feels like there's that potential that, they could finish where they've finished the last few years, and they want to kind of, maybe try and finish around 500 or a little better. So, but this is definitely a game that, if you're an Old Rochester fan, make the drive up there. I think they have a great shot at winning this game, even though they're on the road.
It's not that far. It's like 40 minutes.
Okay.
And you're a D.C. area native, right?
Yes.
So you're a Capitals fan?
If I was a hockey fan, yes, probably a Capitals fan.
Remember the name Rod Langway?
No.
Okay, played for the Capitals. He's a Randolph High grad.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes, my family's from Randolpf, so.
Oh.
This is the kind of useless information you can only get on SouthCoast End Zone.
No, you're
And now it wasn't my voice. It's just being,
I would offer to give you some of my water, but that would probably make you sick.
I think I left my water on top of my car out in the parking lot. All right.
It's really contaminated in here right now.
Right.
I am in here.
Be glad you are just watching over the
I have been
screen.
sick. Let me just tell you, I have been sick since last Thursday night. So I was sick at the football game on Friday. I was like deathly sick. And I do actually, that reminds me, I do have to tell everyone that I made the trip down from the Fairhaven press box, down that ladder, that scary ladder, and walked all the way over and got a hot chocolate just because I said I was going to continue to try hot chocolates.
I hope you didn't try to carry it up the ladder.
I did, and the official that was in there before the game had one, and I said, how did you get that up here? And he said, I put it on a stair higher up, and then I climbed, and then I kept moving it, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So I did try the hot chocolate at Fairhaven. I would have to say, by far, it's the best hot chocolate I've had this season. It was a good price. It was $1. It was a good size. It was actually hot, and it had pretty good taste to it. So.
And on a side note,
and that was the last home game.
Friends, if you're listening, we need a dumbwaiter for that press box, like one of those treehouse type dumbwaiters.
Yes. So it was, but I mean, I hate to be talking about this late. That was the last home game of the season, but it was pretty good.
Well, I mean,
but something to look forward to next year, I guess.
I'm sure they'll have hot chocolate at other games and other events.
Yeah.
All right, so that is Old Rochester at Randolph, 7 o'clock on Friday night. Our next game is also a 7 o'clock game on Friday night. Dennis-Yarmouth is coming to New Bedford, and just another tough team for the Whalers to have to face. Yeah,
Dennis-Yarmouth traditionally has been a really strong program. This year, DY is actually, kind of struggled a little bit. They had a 3-game winning streak kind of midway through the season, and they've lost their last 2 games. Last week against Plymouth South, DY fell behind 25-0 at halftime and really couldn't muster a comeback. They did get on the scoreboard in the second half with rushing touchdowns by Corey DeSimonelli and Spencer McCaffrey, but that was it. So, I mean, really, New Bedford's coming off the bye. The Whalers are rested. This could be a game that, sometimes, you don't want to look past a game like this because Brockton is next week. But this is a good game, especially, where they haven't played in 2 weeks, that to kind of get them back on the field, get everybody, on the same page again, before they really get into the Big Three play, with Brockton next Saturday and then Thanksgiving against Durfee. So I know the Whalers, they were supposed to be making a trip down to Washington, D.C. During the bye to, catch a high school football game and also see some of the monuments. But the last time the Whalers were on the field, they captured an emotional victory over rival Dartmouth 23-20 on October 19th. In that game, quarterback Mike Raposa, he had 18 carries, 83 yards, and then he also completed 11 passes for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. Both of those touchdowns went to Kevin Nunes, who had 4 catches for 70 yards. And right now, Mike Raposa is 4 touchdowns shy of the school single-season record for touchdown passes. So I know, when New Bedford plays and when there's a record like that, nobody ever really talks about it much. But I know once he gets close to, 1 away, I'm sure there's going to be a little bit more hype going around that. And who knows, depending on how many he throws this week, I mean, it could come against Brockton next week, which would be exciting, So he's had a great season, and he's really, done a good job of, directing them, especially where they had that, kind of losing skid, facing some of those tough teams, midway through the season. But they've won 2 straight, and this is definitely a game that they could come out on top of. So give them some momentum going into Big Three action. And
not that we put much faith in the mascot thing, but I'm pretty sure that Whalers can handle Dolphins pretty easily.
Yeah, I think
if Whalers can get Whales, then Dolphins, they're not really that much.
Yeah.
All right, so that is.
We're going to have some kind of thing where all the mascots come and we do some kind of test.
That would be awesome. Mascot wars. Yeah. We can do this.
Which this is totally off the subject, but sometimes here in the newsroom when we're picking athletes of the year and different things, and if there's especially for the overall male or female athlete of the year, we always come up with this crazy discussion where we're we want to have, I'll give an example, Stephanie Antoine and Kara Charette last year, the 2 girls that we, were kind of on the top of our list of the athletes of the year. We're why don't we come up with this obstacle course where, they have to spike 5 volleyballs and then run up and make a layup, a free throw, a 3-point shot, and then do either some kind of track thing or tennis thing or some wild thing, and whoever comes out victorious would win the player of the year. But we just talk about it and it never really happens.
Because that would really kill our credibility.
But wouldn't it be fun though? I mean,
it definitely would be.
Message us at SC_varsity and see, would any of the student athletes ever want to participate in some kind of obstacle course?
Charge the other kids $1 or $2 to watch it and donate the money to charity.
Yeah, that would be fun. Let us know what you think.
Right,
I'm not saying we'll actually do it, but it's one of those crazy ideas.
I say we just do it at the Leadership Awards dinner. Just put an obstacle course.
Some hurdles at Old Colony.
You want to come down and get your trophy? You better be jumping over some hurdles.
I know Buddy does get the kids to dance though, so that's always entertaining.
All right, our next game is Bishop Stang at Martha's Vineyard. That's a 6:30 game on Friday night because they got to take a boat ride.
Yeah, and you know what? I have to apologize to all Stang fans. I thought it was at Bishop Stang, so Buddy had it right in his notebook, and I changed it to say at Bishop Stang because on the Bishop Stang website, if you click on schedules for the fall and you click on football, that's what it says. So, and apparently I was wrong. So we had it wrong in the paper, but it is at Martha's Vineyard, 6:30. We have had it confirmed.
So purchase your ferry tickets now.
Yes.
And Martha's Vineyard, they're always a tough team, and
yeah, Martha's Vineyard. I would say they're not as strong as they have been in years past. This year they're 4-4. They're 0-2 in the EAC. And they've lost their last 3 games, the Vineyarders, and I know they are also opened the season with a shutout loss to Old Rochester. They started the season 4-1, but they've lost 3 straight. The Vineyarders have managed to score just 1 touchdown in each of their last 3 games after averaging 27 points per game in their first 5. So it's really kind of been a maybe not tale of 2 halves, but they were kind of scoring at will, and then now they've been struggling the last few weeks. And I think it's because the competition, the last few weeks, they faced, Cardinal Spellman, Somerset, Berkeley, and Bishop Feehan. So those are, all tough opponents, and that's, probably indicates why or dictates why, they've struggled as of late. But exciting news for Spartan Village. Bishop Stang finally got a win, after losing their first 7 games of the season. They beat Coyle, rival EAC rival Coyle Cassidy last week, 18-0 on homecoming. I mean, it couldn't have been better for these kids. How exciting to get your first win on homecoming. Charlie McKeeman, he had a monster game. He had all 3 touchdowns, 2 on big runs, and then the other was an interception return, 37 yards for a score. McKeeman had 15 carries, 167 yards. The Spartans also had a strong game on defense, holding the Warriors to just 142 yards of total offense and kept the Warriors out of the end zone. So it was, a great performance for Bishop Stang, finally getting in that win column. And, I mean, that confidence probably, will carry over to this week and hopefully the momentum too. So we'll see how they do once they go to Martha's Vineyard. I mean, I know it's always tough to play at the Vineyard, but, especially having that win, I think that bodes well for Bishop Stang. So
yeah, it's like school, bus ride to the ferry, 45-minute boat ride, game, boat ride. It is tough, but I think they're riding high after that victory. Yep. And our last game of the week then is South Shore Voc at Old Colony. That's Saturday at 2 p.m.
Yes, that is at 2 on Saturday. Old Colony was held out of the end zone for just the second time this season, with last week's 36-0 loss to Upper Cape. The Cougars have lost 4 straight by a combined 117-30. But the good news is quarterback Jake Pringle needs just one more touchdown pass to tie the school's single-season mark of 9, which was set by Mike Cassidy in 1985. So it's a long record. So hopefully he'll be able to get that, reach that mark and maybe surpass it. I know Pringle has thrown at least 1 touchdown pass in 5 of the 6 games the Cougars have scored this year. And they face a South Shore team that has won 2 straight after opening the season 0-6. So this is a team that's, kind of heating up right now, but has struggled earlier on in the year. After averaging just 13.6 points per game in their first 6 outings, the Vikings have scored a combined 74 in their past 2 games. And 5 different players have found the end zone the last 2 weeks, with Andy Beckwich leading the way with 5 touchdowns. So he's a guy that Old Colony's defense is really going to have to focus on in this game if the Cougars want to get back on track after losing 4 straight. So it'll be a tough task for Old Colony to get back on track, but this is a team that, even though they're a little hot right now, they have had their struggles this year. So hopefully they can get back on the winning side.
All right. Well, let's give everybody a quick rundown of all the games again. Yeah. Friday, it's Dennis-Yarmouth at New Bedford at 7 p.m. Fairhaven at Greater New Bedford Voc-Tech at 7 p.m. Old Rochester at Randolph, 7 p.m. Bishop Stang at Martha's Vineyard, 6:30 p.m. Dighton-Rehoboth at Wareham, 7 p.m. We also have the Saturday game, South Shore Voc at Old Colony, 2 p.m., and Apponequet at Case, 3 p.m. So a full slate of high school football action. Get it while you can, because the games are going to start to dwindle off here as the weeks go by, and we're almost to the end of the season. Yeah, and we have a ton of playoff games. We got field hockey playoff games, soccer playoff games, volleyball playoff games. So if football isn't your cup of tea, there's plenty of other high school action going on right now in South Coast. I know there's a full slate on Friday. Saturday, there's a handful of games. And then even Sunday, since the Patriots have a bye and you want to watch a game, I know there's a lot of soccer games. So tune in, visit southcoastvarsity.com or at @SC_varsity. We always have, the scores and also all the tournament games. We break down, when teams are playing and who they're facing. So. And if you're at any of these games, you want to tweet us some pictures, tweet us the final score, any info on the games, videos, whatever you can. We appreciate it. Yep. All right, so that does it for this week. So, we never did get to do the Halloween costumes this year.
And I did dress up yesterday when I handed out candy, and I was a devil, and I had these little, like the devil things up here, and I was going to wear them today, but then I just, I don't know, I'm sick, and it's after Halloween.
And now it's All Souls Day, and it would have been a sacrilege.
Yeah, so. But next year we will come and maybe we can even get Buddy to dress up in a costume.
Next year we all dress as a different high school football mascot. So, all right, that does it for this week's show then. Until next week, we will see you under the lights.
And in Wareham's End Zone. How's that?
Hey, I like the sound of that. All right, goodbye, everybody.